brother-in-law shoved me out of the moving car on our highway trip. I hit the gravel shoulder of the highway doing almost 40 miles an hour, and the last thing I saw before I rolled was his face in the rear-view mirror. 3 broken ribs, a shattered wrist, and a family that told me afterward I should be more careful about upsetting him. If you enjoy stories like this, hit subscribe, because what I did after that hospital stay is the part nobody in that family saw coming. My name is Danielle. I'm 35 now, but this story starts 9 years ago when my sister Jenna married a man named Tyler, and I inherited a brother-in-law I never wanted. I grew up outside Denver, the older of 2 sisters, raised by our father, Michael, after our mother passed from cancer when Jenna was just 11. Dad worked as a high school shop teacher, steady and unglamorous, but he showed up for every single thing that mattered. Jenna's wedding, my own divorce 2 years earlier, every holiday, every crisis. He's the reason I know what a real man's love looks like when it isn't performing for anyone. Jenna met Tyler when she was 26. He was loud, funny, the kind of guy who dominated a room with charisma alone. He treated Jenna like a queen in public, opened doors, complimented her endlessly at family gatherings. My father was quieter about his reservations than usual, but at their engagement dinner, he pulled me aside in the parking lot and said, "Danielle, watch how he talks over her when he thinks no one's paying attention. That's not confidence, that's something else." I told Dad he was being overprotective, that Tyler was just a big personality. I wish I'd trusted his instincts more. I lived close to Jenna and Tyler for years, close enough that I became a regular presence at their house, helping with home projects, joining family road trips, being the built-in support system Jenna leaned on, especially after their first child was born. For the first few years, Tyler was tolerable, even pleasant sometimes, generous with jokes and beer at backyard barbecues. The small cruelties started showing up around year 4 of their marriage, always aimed carefully at Jenna when he thought I wasn't paying attention. But I caught enough. A hand gripping her arm too tight while steering her toward the car. A comment about her weight disguised as a joke, sharp enough to make the whole table go quiet. When I brought it up to Jenna privately, she'd brush it off. "That's just Tyler being Tyler. You don't understand him like I do." I let it go more times than I should have, telling myself it wasn't my place. Isolation crept into that family slowly. Tyler discouraged Jenna's friendships one by one, calling her friends bad influences or too much drama, until I was one of the last people from her old life still allowed close. He tolerated me mainly, I now believe, because cutting me off completely would have raised questions from our father he wasn't ready to answer. The first major incident I personally witnessed happened 3 years ago at a family cookout at Tyler's parents' house. Jenna dropped a serving dish, and Tyler grabbed her wrist hard enough that she gasped audibly, hissing something too quiet for most of the guests to hear. I saw it. I saw something, quietly, pulling him aside. He laughed it off in front of others. Then later, alone with me by the cooler, his voice dropped cold. "Stay out of my marriage, Danielle. This doesn't concern you." I remember the chill that ran through me, recognizing for the first time that the charm was a mask, and underneath it was something genuinely dangerous. That evening, back at the house, Tyler was suddenly warm again, cracking jokes, refilling drinks, acting as though nothing had happened at all. The calm afterward lasted weeks that time. As the years went on, though, I watched those calm periods shrink, weeks becoming days, days becoming hours, as Tyler grew more comfortable letting his true temper show, especially toward me, the one person in the family still willing to push back. The ticking clock arrived this past summer. My father, recently retired, had been planning a 2-week trip to visit his own brother overseas, meaning he'd be unreachable and out of the country during the exact window our extended family had planned an annual highway road trip to a lake house 3 states away. A trip Tyler insisted on organizing every detail of, including who rode in which car. Dad's absence meant, for the first time in years, no one with real standing in that family would be present to witness whatever happened on that trip. 2 weeks before departure, I was helping Jenna pack the kids' bags when her phone buzzed with a banking app notification. A large cash withdrawal, $4,000, from an account I didn't know Tyler had access to, one meant for their kids' savings. Jenna dismissed it, saying Tyler mentioned a work thing, but her voice wavered in a way that told me she wasn't sure either. I filed it away, uneasy, unable to shake the feeling that something bigger was unraveling beneath the surface of that marriage. I should have dropped it. I didn't, not entirely, mentioning that Jenna deserved to know what that account was actually for. That's when his temper detonated fully, unlike anything I'd witnessed before. He swerved onto the shoulder, slammed the car into park mid-conversation, reached back, unlocked my door, and shoved me, hard, both hands, full force, while the car was still rolling to a stop, my body hitting gravel and rolling twice before I came to a stop against the guardrail, the kids screaming in the back seat behind him. I broke 3 ribs and my left wrist in that fall. I lay on that gravel shoulder in agonizing pain, cars slowing to gawk, until Jenna's car pulled over minutes later, her face white with horror as she ran toward me. Tyler, incredibly, tried to claim I'd jumped out during an argument, a lie so absurd that even his own parents, riding behind, exchanged uneasy glances. At the hospital that night, waiting for x-rays, Jenna sat beside my bed and finally, let something crack open. "Danielle, I need to tell you something," she whispered. "That account, the one you asked about, I found out 3 days ago it's connected to a woman named Brianna. He's been paying for an apartment for over a year." The betrayal I'd stumbled into wasn't just his temper. It was an entire second life he'd been funding with money meant for his own children. Jenna became the ally I desperately needed in that moment, finally seeing clearly what I'd been trying to show her for years. From my hospital bed, wrist in a cast, ribs wrapped tight, we started building the case together. Jenna pulled full banking statements, finding nearly $41,000 diverted over 14 months into the secret apartment and a relationship neither of us had known existed. I gave a full statement to the state troopers who'd responded to the highway incident, backed by 2 independent witnesses from the cars that had slowed behind us, plus visible injuries consistent with being shoved from a moving vehicle rather than jumping, as Tyler had claimed. Tyler was arrested and charged with reckless endangerment and assault within the week. The financial evidence Jenna provided strengthening the case significantly by establishing a documented pattern of controlling, deceptive behavior. Jenna filed for divorce immediately, citing both the financial infidelity and a pattern of escalating aggression she'd been too afraid to name out loud until that hospital room conversation. The consequences landed hard and fast. Tyler pleaded down to a lesser charge, but still served 8 months in county jail, lost his job once the arrest became public record, and faced a restraining order that kept him away from Jenna, the kids, and me entirely. The divorce settlement, bolstered by the documented financial deception, left Jenna with primary custody and a far larger share of shared assets than Tyler's lawyer had initially offered. My father flew home the moment he heard, cutting his trip short by a week, and sat in my hospital room holding my good hand, quietly furious with himself for not pushing harder years earlier. "I should have said more," he told me. I told him he'd said exactly enough. He just needed a family finally ready to listen. Jenna and the kids moved in with Dad for 6 months while she rebuilt, then found a small house of her own 2 streets from mine. My wrist healed in 10 weeks. The ribs took a little longer. Some things took longer still. Trusting my own instincts again, believing that speaking up, even when it costs you, is always worth it. Jenna and I are closer now than we've ever been, road trips included. Though these days we choose our own cars, our own routes, and we never, ever let anyone else hold the wheel over our safety again. If this story moved you, hit subscribe. There's another one coming next week that'll leave you shaken before it leaves you satisfied. Take care of yourselves and never let silence protect the person who's hurting someone you love.